What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic night, a great weekend. We are here, though, to break down the 2025 Eagles draft class. And oh, my Lord, what another fantastic live stream throughout the weekend each day. So, really want to thank all of you that tuned into that. Had a great time with you guys. Look forward to doing that again next year. Now, hopefully you all enjoyed the pre-draft content and all that great stuff. We'll be doing breakdowns. I'll do another breakdown of the undrafted free agents. Then we'll talk about the cap space, all that great stuff you want to know. And I know at this time kind of gets like, okay, where's football at? It blows. I know. But we're going to get through it together. We like to call it sicko season. So, let's start it off by breaking down this draft class. We're going to do a recap of this draft. Then we'll talk about each pick. Then we'll take a look at the updated depth chart. And I've even added in the undrafted free agents that were signed. We'll take a look at that list and a list of the rookie minicamp tryouts. So maybe some of those guys could make the roster in this offseason. So let's talk about all of it here tonight. Not a live video. Got to talk to you guys live a lot, but want to get through this information with you. Love to hear your thoughts, whether you've got a grade on this draft, whatever it is. I'm going to give you my grade at the end, but lots of thoughts from me. I want to hear yours, how you're feeling about this draft, your favorite pick, sleeper pick, whatever it may be. Maybe you feel we need something else. Let me know how you're feeling about this draft, but let's start it off with the draft recap. So we started this thing off with 8 picks. We had the 32nd pick because, oh, wait, why is that? Super Bowl champs. So hell yeah. But Eagles felt at pick 31, they might have someone jumping in front of them, might take their guy. So they go ahead, trade pick 164 along with 32 to move up one spot. So they get rid of that 5th rounder, drop themselves to 7 picks, but they acquire the player they were hoping to get, a top 10 player on their board, Campbell, and he is an effing stud. So we'll talk about him, but what a great pick at 31. Howie Roseman continues to fleece people with these players that drop, and I love every second of it. Then you had Makuba here, who was the 2nd pick, and another kid who fits perfectly into Vic Fangio's defense. You remember talking about him, one of the top fits for the Eagles in this pre-draft process. Really excited to see what he does. But then after that, they traded away their 3rd pick to move back 5 spots, but acquired themselves a 5th rounder next year. So some people were feeling a certain way after waiting so long. I felt the same way on day 2. But then after moving back 5 spots, they just traded out completely and ended our night with only 1 pick on day 2 there. So they moved to the beginning of the 4th round. Geez, if I could talk today. And acquired 130 and 191 while giving 101 and 134 to the Broncos. So a couple of trades right there. Then they started off day 3 with a great pick. Ty Robinson, excited to talk about him here in a second at 111. Very excited about that pick. Then we were waiting for our next pick at 130, which felt like forever. And then they trade back 15 picks. So we get another pick in 207 here. So getting those picks back, making sure, now we have 9 picks. So we went back up after going to 7. We get 9 now. And then we make a trade at 145 to get Mac McWilliams. Really excited about this pick. Really starting to like it even more the more I watch about this kid. And just an overall great draft with all these players. I think they have that toughness we're always looking for, the versatility. So, pick 161 here in round 5. I thought Smile Mundon was a fantastic pick for the Eagles here. I thought he could have gone sooner than that. So love it. Adding, off-ball linebackers, but that's kind of somewhere we're lacking depth and we have an injury. So totally makes sense there. And I'll show you the depth chart here at the end. But after that, we make another trade and then get 10 picks total here by acquiring 209 and 181 for giving the Chargers 165 there. But after that, that was the last trade. So the Eagles only made 5 trades in this draft. Last year, we made 9. So it really wasn't that many. Some people were losing their minds over it. But Howie knows what he's doing. And when teams weren't allowing us to trade up, we would trade back and do other things. So it is what it is, man. We can't dictate how the draft goes. We just try to navigate it the best of, our abilities. So love it. Now up next, Drew Kendall, one of my top fits here as well. And I am very excited to have a backup center, somebody that they're going to cross-train at guard as well. So 6'4", 308. Talk about him here shortly. After that, he had Kyle McCord. I thought, we had just mentioned it on the show. If you're watching the live stream, look out for a quarterback. The Eagles always like to take quarterbacks, and that is exactly what we did. And I thought a good pick here. We'll talk again about these players in detail in a second, but then backed it up with some linemen. Miles Hinton out of Michigan in round 6, and then Cam Williams as well. So 2 monsters that Jeff Stoutland will have the opportunity to mold. So exciting there. And then the final pick, Antoine Pal Ryland with pick 209 there. So 10 picks total. You saw all of them there. But to recap that, these were the 10 players and their picks, where they went to school, all that great stuff. But overall, I think Howie did his damn thing. To me, I would give this an A, because you went into this draft knowing all you needed was depth, and you get guys with potential starting capability, but you already have players that you've drafted, players that were signed as free agents that have the potential to start. So all you needed to do was get best player available. And I thought that they did really well in this draft, getting the kind of players, the leadership kind of, off the field stuff, and then, vicious on the field. I thought they did a good job of that, and stepping into this culture, I think will be great for a lot of these kids. So for me, I gave them an A here. And I think, you never know how these kids will develop or turn out, but you got so many little diamonds in the rough and guys that can come in and help on special teams and could be potential starters down the road. So I really loved what I saw from this draft. Really excited about it. So I gave it an A. You guys can let me know how you feel. What was your favorite pick? Who do you think the biggest steal was? I thought a lot of great stuff happened here. But after the draft, there were some undrafted free agent signings, then some more today. And I didn't even get to make a post of the last signing and rookie minicamp invite that was reported on. So I've got the list here. So you'll hear it here first. But you can see that we have some undrafted free agents now, 9 that were signed here. And then rookie minicamp tryouts, you have 5 guys that have the potential to make this offseason roster. So I believe we're at 88 right now with all of those undrafted free agent signings. So 2 of these guys that were rookie minicamp invites have the, possibility to make the team, or we could sign someone, trade someone, whatever happens, sign another undrafted free agent. We can do whatever the hell we want. But you see the list of guys here, and you'll see them added to this depth chart coming up. And again, I will make a breakdown video, hopefully tomorrow, if not by Tuesday. I'm going to be breaking all of these players down so you can get to know the Eagles' newest undrafted free agent signing class. And you never know when you can find a diamond in the rough there. So I'll get into detail there. Don't want to get too off track, but I like some of those signings, and we'll get into that. But let's talk about these draft picks. And throughout the weekend, we got to talk about them, but I'd like to do a little overall recap of it. And John Campbell, look, man, I did not think he would be a possibility unless we traded up. And well, we traded up one spot, but I thought it would take a lot more than that to get a kid like him. And, a Jersey native who grew up an Eagles fan from Erie, New Jersey, man. And that's awesome. You'd love to see stuff like that. But, he's got such a versatile skill set. In high school, he actually played wide receiver and edge. But now, in college, playing edge and then going off-ball linebacker, he's got that versatility. And he's also scheme versatile, and we run a versatile scheme. So very awesome to have a player like that. And, an athletic freak. He's got an explosive first step. I think his coverage instincts and route recognition are something to be admired. He is actually a really good linebacker. So when they talk about playing him on edge, I think that's just like with Zach Bond. We talk about the ability to, rush from that second level. And he can definitely blitz and do things like that. But, he's a big hitter. He's got great closing speed, those long arms. I think that this kid is a no-brainer to, draft, but that 4.52 speed, he's got it all, man. And I think, this is somebody the Eagles will be very happy they took. Look, if you have problems with taking a linebacker, you just got to understand, Dean, we don't know with his injury what's going on. And you saw what Vic Fangio was able to do with Zach Bond. So I think Fangio is going to have, quite the weapon here. We talk about the perfect. I thought Campbell was better than Jalen Walker in this draft. and is better suited to be that off-ball linebacker. And I think he's going to shine. Only 21 years old, and this is a kid that he was first team All SEC last year, and that's after just switching to an off-ball linebacker. And to me, that's where he's going to play. But he can play on the line. He can edge rush. He can do stuff. He played linebacker last year too, though. And I think that this kid's going to have a bright career for the Philadelphia Eagles. Tackle machine that, man, him and Bond together. We'll see what happens. With Dean, it's unfortunate he's banged up, but hopefully he gets healthy. And it's a good problem to have. Lots of depth there. And then up next, McCord. Oh, man. I think that this kid, you talk about what he did at Texas. I think this is a kid that shows that he is that true chess piece, just like we talked about with Cooper DeJean, lining him up at safety, at nickel. And he's got a high football IQ. He is a ball hawk. He's got fluid hips. He's a great athlete. His speed, that 4.45, his change of interceptions, which led the SEC. And yeah, look, he's a little lean and he can play over aggressive at times. And I think his run responsibility, sometimes he needs to work on certain things, but he's young. And I think he's got a bright future. We talked about him before the draft, one of my top fits, and I thought the best coverage linebacker in this draft. So he's going to be another great piece for Vic Fangio to use, and he plays in not only those positions, but, maybe that dime linebacker role. He does so many things that, and maybe not in the NFL, but the fact that he was doing that at Texas is just really impressive. And I think he's going to be a very, great piece to this defense sooner rather than later. And I'll show you the depth chart in the end and how everything looks, and we'll get a little further into the team aspect. But got ourselves a stud here, and I'm really excited about his future here. Now, that 4th round pick, Ty Robinson, dude, this kid is a stud. You heard me talking about in the live draft, nicknamed the Vanilla Gorilla. And this kid also has a pet camel. So those were things people were throwing out, which I found to be ridiculous. But this dude is awesome. 6'5", 6'6", I've seen listed, 290. He was like 310 at one point. But if you watch him, like, he had a 16% win rate, I believe I saw. And that's at the 0 and 1 techniques. That's playing the nose tackle, the big boy that we talked about. He can play all the way to the 5 technique. This dude can move all over the line. This is that versatile piece, that depth we need all over the place. Last year, he really came out there with 7 sacks, 13 tackles for a loss. Dude is a beast. So very excited to have him. He was second team All Big Ten last year. And then an honorable mention, All Big Ten the year before that. I think this is a kid that, we will be happy to have in the long run. I think he's going to have a bright future here as part of the rotation and maybe even a starter one day. So love this pickup, his aggressiveness. Dude, this is a Philadelphia Eagle type player, just a monster, can run you over. And to me, this is what you needed because you have a Jomo and Gabe Hall and those other guys that can fill in where Milton Williams was and Byron Young. And, I think adding someone like Ty Robinson who could do that, but also so many other things as well, you needed nose tackle help and a guy with an explosive first step, just like, some other guys we talk about. He can bull rush. He just is somebody that with his versatility, it allows him to, and I think maybe work on a little bit of his run game stuff, but watching him pass rush, do things, I think pretty impressive. But his tackling, certain things he could clean up. I think that's maybe why he fell, but my Lord, Ty Robinson is a stud, and I am very happy with that pick. And then up next, Mick Williams. Talked about how I just continue to see more. A former punt returner as well, Conference USA all-freshman team. He plays inside and out. He only allowed 1 reception of 20-plus yards last year, and I thought that this dude, he was the best defender on their defense last year, according to PFF. And he played at UAB before transferring to UCF, but he had a great career overall. And he's just one of those dudes that plays with that tenacity. The hair on fire we talk about, that's the kind of player I am looking for. And Mick Williams kind of just seems like a Philadelphia Eagle. A little bit smaller, that 5'10", but no one gives a damn. 191, the way he plays, he is perfectly fine being that size because he tackles really well. He's a ball hawk. That's what I'm looking for. Now, I think that, he's with that being smaller, he may get bullied a little bit, but you never know with these kids. They come to the NFL, maybe they bulk up, and sky's the limit, dude. So best of luck to him. Then the next pick, Smile London. London. I know that I mentioned this, but I really like this pick. And, some people complaining we already have a linebacker. Well, that's fine, man. I'll take depth there, and I'll take someone that can help on special teams right off the bat and see what you get out of them. I think way too small to be playing on the edge, but a pass rushing, linebacker rushing from that second level, I'm all about it. And, 4.58 speed, that's pretty damn good for a linebacker. And I thought, Smile Mundon could have gone way sooner. He's great in coverage. Somebody they used as a nickel corner as well, not just that box linebacker there, and I think, in the NFL, maybe not so much, but big nickel at certain times, not against it. And, I think to me, having that versatility is always a plus. And in this kind of defense, you definitely want to have that. He's a tackling machine, and he can rush the passer. He's good against the run. He's decent in coverage here. Actually, he's pretty damn good in coverage. I liked what I saw. At times, getting beat, certain things that I didn't like, but I thought overall, this kid, one of the better coverage linebackers. So to me, the Eagles get themselves a steal in the 5th round. And I think Smile Mundon's got a bright career here, definitely right off the bat as a special teamer. So very hopeful for his future. Then Drew Kendall, who, again, was one of my top fits. And I think, he had the second fastest shuttle at the combine. We talk about his ability to pull, do so many things. He only allowed 5 sacks in his career. That's 1,256 pass blocking snaps. So pretty damn good. And this is somebody that, again, will cross-train at guard. The Eagles have already said it, but we needed a backup center. And this guy was first-team All-ACC last year. He was at the East-West Shrine Bowl. He was a team captain. That's what we're always looking for in these guys. And I think that this is the kind of guy, you want on your offense. And his team, they ran the ball a lot. There were 4 games of 200-plus rushing yards and 2 of 300-plus. So he'll get used to that, maybe more so in the preseason because we won't need him. But future is very bright. 6'4", 308. Really liked this kid going into the draft. Very happy that the Eagles were able to get him. Up next, Kyle McCord. And a lot of people felt a certain way about this, but we talked about it. They're going to take a quarterback. They're going to add competition with Dorian Thompson-Robinson for that QB3 spot. And they do it by adding the guy that led the FBS in passing yards. And he also set the ACC single-season record in passing yards. So pretty damn good for being on your first and only year on the team. He spent the first 3 years at Ohio State before transferring. But this dude, he's a gunslinger. We talk about, having a cannon. He's great in the intermediate throws. I think, he's got a lot to like. Second team All ACC as mentioned, but Holiday Bowl offensive MVP. He was at the East-West Shrine Bowl. Third team All Big Ten the year before at Ohio State. And last year he was actually number 10 in the Heisman Trophy voting. So look, the kid's got talent. You got him in the 5th round. So not a complaint to me that you're adding competition. When we talked about this draft, every pick was more so a luxury. You're just adding depth, competition, making the team better from the ground up. And that is what they did by adding a 4th quarterback to compete for that QB3 spot, make it exciting in the offseason. It's going to make preseason games fun. You don't have a dinker and dunker. You got a guy that actually throws the ball, and he's wild a little bit. You're definitely going to have to work on some things there. But, another kid, he's from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and actually went to St. Joseph's Prep in Philly. So he's another one that grew up an Eagles fan. Very excited to have him as a Philadelphia Eagle. I think that this kid, if he makes it over DTR, good for him. But, I was a fan of DTR a couple years ago before the draft. I think he's got a bright future learning from Jalen Hurts. So this is going to be fun, really fun competition. And I think we talk about this all the time in the preseason. I want to see guys that actually, make it exciting, and we can see what some of these skill players have. And you don't see that when you have shitty backups. So it's good to have good backups, whether people, and then it's either backups suck, why did we sign them or draft them, or it's every backup needs to be an all-pro. And that's just not how it works. They're doing the right thing here. Howie did a great job bringing someone into the quarterback factory. I enjoy the pick. Now, up next, you've got yourself Miles Hinton. And this is a kid with a background in track and basketball. He's an athletic guy for his size, somebody that is, playing for that swing tackle role, played right and left tackle, allowed 8 sacks and 1,020 blocking snaps, pass blocking snaps, that is. But, 6'6". I've seen him listed at 6'6" as well, but he's a monster. 6'7", 6'6", 323. And look, man, this dude, I think it was something, I forget what I saw about it, but he looks like Mekhi Becton, right? That size. And when you have Jeff Stoutland, anybody can, do anything. But his dad actually was number 4 overall pick by the Broncos in 1983. So wild. But his brother played at Michigan. He's got it in his blood, and then went on to the Chargers. So he has a brother in the NFL. This is somebody that's got it in his bloodline, transferred from Stanford to Michigan. I think this kid, it's another one of those, could be a diamond in the rough. If not, whatever, dude. These were all luxury picks at the end here. You acquired more. You weren't able to move up for certain people, so you drafted who you thought the best available was. And we need depth there. We need guys competing with some of these veterans we signed. So I love it. Maybe you find someone in the future. You don't know. But when you have Jeff Stoutland, you take shots on guys like, Miles Hinton here, who was a national champion the year before. So he's got that in his blood. Love it, dude. These are the kind of things we are looking for. So he's great in pass protection. So that's awesome. Protect Jalen Hurts, but a little work on the run game for sure. I think he definitely needs some development. And look, he's one of those vicious players we talk about, but I think he just his movement and stuff. I think he really needs to work on his technique. If the way he moves, he needs some help with how to counteract some of these guys, and that's why he fell. But a monster, and you never know what Stout will do. A guy that only allowed 1 sack last year, so hey, I'm all for it. Then right after, we take another tackle, and both these guys, you never know. You can cross train them too. Try them out at guard, just like we did with Becton. But you get a 21-year-old who came out after his junior years. A lot of people felt that he shouldn't have, but he had a heel injury that he actually had to get surgery for. So I think that helped drop him in this draft. But look, man, this is somebody that a lot of people were talking about throughout the draft. Why is he falling? I think he needs a lot of work on his technique. Gave up 5 sacks last year. He's definitely things I think he needs to work on. But what better teacher than the man himself, Jeff Stoutland? So I think this kid, he does have a bright future. Doesn't play guard, but Stout can teach anybody, and you'll find out if they can do it. But to me, having another kid that is one of those players that fell, that's a good thing to have. And I think he's got decent-sized arms. He's got monstrous hands. Just got to learn how to use them a little bit better. But he's got great physical traits that I think you can mold. And that's what you're looking for with these guys. When, their technique's a little rusty, it just needs coaching. Well, when you've got great coaches, that allows you to get players like this. So I thought another great pick. And then the last pick in the draft, Antoine Pal Ryland, who, again, I felt, and I'm not just trying to be a homer here, I thought another steal in this draft. This dude was 3rd in the FBS last season with 16 sacks. Like, what are we doing here? I thought this dude, for me, in his career, he had 30 sacks, 9 forced fumbles. This dude is another one of those freak of natures I really enjoyed watching. He's got shorter arms, so I understood that he maybe was falling a little bit. But in my opinion, he could have gone in the 5th round. And look, he needs some work on his tackling. His run defense is a little But if you use him strictly as a pass rusher, this dude's got 4.69 speed. That's good for an edge. And I think watching his tape, he's really exciting, dude. And he's got great technique. So that's something you love to see. You don't have to work too much on that. But another one of those violent players that I think just fits what we're looking for here. He's got a good bull rush here. He tackles really well. I thought that this was somebody that, for me, was a definite steal in this draft. I get it, the short arms. But, dude, get him out there with Vic Fangio and all these other guys competing, and I think we've got ourselves a really good draft here because, again, you added depth where you needed to. That was the point of this draft. I know we lost Milton Williams and Josh Wett and Mekhi Becton on offense, but we already had their replacements here. And they were drafted for that purpose, knowing the year before that these people would be free agents and most likely leave. So it's good to have a good GM in Howie Roseman, and it's good to keep up with that stuff so you don't have to be surprised. So that's what I like to do here for you. And we're going to do that right now by looking at this depth chart, finishing this show up. But love to hear your thoughts so far. Who was your favorite draft pick here? Whether, not including the first pick or second pick, you got someone in the back end, someone you think is going to be a starter day one, whatever's on your mind. Love to hear from you. But here's how I see the depth chart right now. And on offense, again, you brought in McCord, and you can see that he will compete with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So like that, you now have Shunderick Powell and Montrell Johnson, the undrafted kids here, to compete at running back. You didn't draft anybody, but you've got a lot of competition at running back here. 6 guys competing for 3, maybe 4 spots. So I love it. And again, I'll break down those undrafted free agent guys tomorrow. Fullback, you got Van Sumeren back. Hell yeah. Receiver, you signed Terrace Marshall. You drafted Johnny Wilson and Ananias Smith the year before, but you just brought in undrafted free agents Darius Cooper and Taylor Morin. Then you have Elijah Cooks and Danny Gray, reserve future guys. So you've got competition, a lot of question marks to that back end. Hopefully somebody steps up, shows they want to be that number 4, number 5, maybe a number 6. Then at tight end, Dallas Goedert still here. And you've got Calcaterra, Bryant, Jenkins, Granson, Latu, and Muse. So all about it. And there is a tight end trying out that I know some of you are fans of, and we will talk about that stuff tomorrow. But you can see the guys on the roster right now, and, well, you've got 7 guys competing for 3 spots. Maybe, I doubt 4. But, look, I like the Bryant and Granson. They were top fits for me in the offseason here, and I'm excited to see what these guys do. Then on the offensive line, we talked about it. Can Steen win that job? And if not, you've got guys to compete with him now. You've got Matt Pryor, Keegan, Kenyon Green, and Drew Kendall. Maybe he wants to compete, but he can back up center at least. And you talk about Miles Hinton and Cameron Williams providing depth at tackle. We have Kennard here. Kendall Lamb was brought in. But then you talk about Toth, who can play all over. Vaca Holly, the exempt player due to the international player program. But then Holland Pierce. That is one of the undrafted free agents. So look at all the depth that we have. That was the purpose. You can see the white. Those were players we already had. In green, we re-signed fullback Ben Van Sumeren, but Tyler Steen was already drafted to be that guy at right guard. So it's, I know, upsetting to people that Becton left, but cheaper option there. The Eagles know what they're doing. Let's have some faith here. Whoever wants that win that job, Pryor was starting 16 games for the Bears last year. So we'll see. And then on defense, I get it. Milton Williams, loved him. But Moro Ajomo, Byron Young, Gabe Hall, Thomas Booker. And now you have Ty Robinson, who, again, can back up Jordan Davis. You've got depth pieces that can play multiple roles, and I love that. And I know a lot of people feel that we needed to add interior-wise, but I think Ty Robinson was the perfect pick here. I like what we have in Ajomo. Booker, I want to see what Young has while he's healthy. And then Gabe Hall. You remember one of my undrafted fits last year, and we ended up getting him. So I like the kid. I like the competition there. And then edge. Dude, Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt, the future, love it. But you signed Uche and Ojulari in the offseason. Got Patrick Johnson back. Bryce Huff's still here. We'll see what the hell happens there. Reserve future guys, O'Shawn Mathis and KJ Henry. And now you just drafted Antoine Pal Ryland. And, oh, yeah, Jahad Campbell will probably get some reps there, too. So, what? You've got 9 dudes, and then 10 considering Jahad Campbell there, competing for, 5, 6 spots there. And, well, I love that. So I'm actually pumped about Uche and Ojulari. I think Powell-Ryland, he's going to compete with Patrick Johnson, Bryce Huff for that last spot. But the future here, man, I think people are sleeping on that Uche. And if Ojulari stays healthy, I think those are 2 great signings. So I'm pumped about edge. I know a lot of people wanted, to use a high pick there. Did not do it. And I'm not mad about it at all. And I know people feel Jahad Campbell will be starting at edge. I don't see that for him. I see, again, him being with Zach Bond as the starter. We'll see if Nakobe Dean can be ready, but you got Trotter Jr. here. And, maybe Campbell needs a little work before he's the starter. Maybe Trot starts off. I don't know. We'll see, but I think some cross-training, and he's the perfect weapon for Vic Fangio. But Smile Mundon is there now. Dallas Gant was a reserve future signing. And then Lance Dixon was just an undrafted free agent that was brought in. So you're going to have 6 guys competing in this camp while Nakobe Dean sits back and watches. So 7 total competing for, 3 or 4 spots. And I think maybe 5 if someone really steps it up. But look, man, it's going to be a good problem to actually have competition. And then at corner, will Kaylee Ringo, maybe Adore Jackson step up, be that opposite starter of Coop or Quinion? Will the Eagles maybe make a trade or sign someone? I don't know. But they did draft Mac McWilliams, who I think kid's really impressive. I don't know if he's ready to start for the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles here. But maybe, one day Coop moves outside and you have Mac McWilliams inside. I wouldn't do that. I would keep Coop inside, but we'll see how Kaylee Ringo does. They must have a lot of faith in him. But we'll see, man. The offseason's not over yet. Now, if they feel they have a problem there, they will trade or sign someone, I promise you. Now, BJ Mays was brought in, undrafted free agent. You've got Nickerson, Castro Fields, and AJ Woods here. Eli Ricks, if I didn't mention him, but you actually have competition there. So, 10 guys competing for, 5-6 spots. I think maybe you see more additions even, in the secondary, but you've got versatile pieces that can help all over. So just keep that in mind. But then safety, whether Makuba wins the safety spot over Sidney Brown or whatever happens there, man, maybe Makuba, if I'm even saying his name right at this point, maybe he starts at nickel and Coop goes outside. And, I doubt that happens. I'd like to see him as safety. But you've got McCollum there with Brown competing, Lewis Seen, Andre Sam, and then they just added a couple of undrafted kids in Maxon Hook and Brandon Johnson. So people talk about lack of depth. We've got lots of depth, and that's what the draft is for. And post-draft, and we talk about it all offseason when people complain, and hell, we might wake up tomorrow and they have Justin Simmons there too. So just realize how he knows what he's doing. You don't have to fret. There's months until the season starts. So stay patient. And then we have the special teams, which, you added a long snapper, you added a return guy. So you are adding to this. You brought in a punter that's going to try out. We'll see if he makes the roster to compete this offseason. But it's time for Aniyah Smith to maybe step it up, push out Avery Williams. If not, you have undrafted kids that were just signed in Taylor Morin and Mac McWilliams, who was drafted, who can actually return the ball. So Will Shipley, Tyrion Davis-Price there. There is competition, and there are other guys that can return as well. John Dotson and many other players that, will push this offseason. We'll see who they use. But I love it, man. And for me, again, after seeing that whole roster and everything going on, I think an A. I don't really need to go A+ because it's not like we went above and beyond to do anything crazy. It just all kind of happened, and it happened right, happened well, and that's all I needed to see, man. You got a 99 on the test. Awesome. Fantastic. Go Birds. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is my 2025 NFL draft class breakdown for the Philadelphia Eagles. Would love to hear your grade, your favorite pick, your whatever's on your mind, your steal of the draft. Maybe you have thoughts on other team drafts. Whatever it is, love to hear from you. But, you can always reach out down below any of these platforms. And if you need anything else, doesn't have to be about the Birds. Always here for you guys as you are for me. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're ready for a great week next week. I'll be talking about the undrafted free agents and everything else under the sun. Rookie cap hits, all that great stuff next week. Hope to see you then. Hopefully you enjoyed all the draft content. Cannot thank you enough for tuning in. Thank you so much, guys. Have yourselves a great rest of your night. But until next time, I'm Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You all stay safe out there, and as always, go Birds!